So, there's a lot of misinformation going on about what this TikTok bill ban is. Fortunately, thanks to the internet, I found out the truth. You see, what's going on is it's a Jewish conspiracy because TikTok was the only source for real information about Israel. Also, China Uncensored is paid by the Jews, apparently. And that's what's happening.
I think that Chris has been spending too much time arguing with people on Instagram. Is what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I handle the social media of all the shows, so you guys don't have to deal with this. But
no,
yeah.
I just watched the car wreck from a distance.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I am kind of stunned by the anti-Semitism. But yeah, so that's one theory.
Because that's definitely been getting worse on the internet.
It has been, but it's just more pervasive than I thought.
In fact, I got a little nervous as even we're talking about this because I was like, is this now going to be like somehow
going to be
blacklist this? Because
there was that one time I did an episode about anti-Semitism in China, and YouTube demonetized and age-restricted the episode because of anti-Semitism.
So you were discussing the problem of anti-Semitism, and YouTube was like, okay, this is anti-Semitic?
Yes.
Okay.
Well,
okay,
this is the problem with their artificial intelligence. It's not very intelligent.
Dang right.
It really doesn't get your sarcasm. It just doesn't get you, Chris. Not the way that we do.
Just reporting facts. But yes, I now know that a lot of people are very confused about this TikTok bill, and there are just crazy things going around on the internet. So I thought today we could maybe discuss some of the main points of misinformation.
Yeah, and one of the things, just to clarify, is that we actually read the bill. And it's not very long.
Not long.
It's a few pages.
Yeah, we'll put it, and that's one thing. Like Thomas Massey, who's like against the bill, like did this speech where it's like, and the bill is so long.
He said that.
He did.
But maybe
it's really short for a bill.
Yeah, and he was also saying like basically the TikTok's not a threat.
Those are two different things. The TikTok not being a threat and the bill being too long. Both of those are lies, but they're different lies.
Yeah.
Well, but so here's the thing. It's not required for members of the public to read the TikTok bill, but it is required for members of Congress. Well, that's not actually required. It is a very good idea for members of Congress to read the text of the bill that they're going to vote on.
Well, I mean, I feel like they probably almost never do. They have staff for that, but you know.
Well, and this is the weird thing. Like a lot of people have been like saying to me, like, "Oh yeah, the bill it could ban anyone who just like questions elections," and I'm like, it doesn't actually say elections anywhere in the bill. And like this person was like, well, like I showed him the bill, and he was like, well, the thing I saw said it did. It's like what you saw was misinformation.
Actually, is I saw that person who was like, because you kept asking people to show you the parts of the bill.
I'm willing to think it's like, so I think the bill is great. I am willing to accept that it's not great if somebody can make an actual argument.
Because I feel like what happened with the Restrict Act is people did bring up things that were like, oh, maybe this is not so great. And you could actually see some of their arguments. But this bill is very short. It's very targeted. It doesn't give like overarching powers to the U.S. government.
It's actually a really good example of how checks and balances work in the U.S. legal
system.
And
it was what was required to have a bipartisan bill.
Mm-hmm. And I think the interesting thing is that like when you were like saying to one of these people like read the bill, and then someone else chimed in. I think it was like Raheem Kazem, who's like he's like a conservative political commentator, and he actually chimed in the comments, going like, this is what it says in the bill. And then the person was like, oh, well, this isn't, they must have changed the bill. Like, this isn't the version that I and many other thousands of people read a few days ago. Like, it's just kind of like, okay.
Well, but you do want to look at the version that was passed by the House.
Yeah, but I don't actually think it changed.
Not substantially.
Not substantially. Like, I think it's just that people have this issue where they don't necessarily remember facts. I think people remember impressions.
I mean, emotions.
Yeah, emotions. So like you may have somehow read something. Maybe it wasn't the original bill. Maybe it was somebody you, like a commentator that you listen to, or you know some other person on the internet who shares your political beliefs or whatever, and then become convinced that this is like a terrible bill, and then you know you go around being like, this is a terrible bill, but then when you were like, can you show me where it's terrible? Like people just could not come up with the answer to that.
And so some people respond to that, well, I must be an authoritarian bootlicker who has sold out or something.
Or like the China Uncensored is obviously propaganda. It's that one cartoon I showed you that was like 2 stick figures, and one was like A, and the other stick figure was thinking A, the other one person was like B, the other person was like B, the other person was C, and then the other person was like D. This person's terrible. I hate everything they said. Like there's one thing they disagree on.
It is a weird thing that I've like noticed for a long time now. I've lost a lot of friends actually because of it. But like you can be like in sync, and if there's one thing you disagree on, then that must mean you are actually an enemy.
Throw the whole person out.
Throw the whole person out is wild. So that's why I'm open to somebody actually making a good argument for why this bill is bad. I have just not seen it.
I think that there are a lot of people making arguments based on not what the bill says or anything like that, but like the general idea that it's bad to give the U.S. government more power, or because of things like the Patriot Act, or okay, well, maybe this bill doesn't, but then they could, if this bill passes, then they could pass future bills that are worse.
So what I've seen is like, I mean, this whole process has shown how badly people are educated about civics in the United States. Number one, when TikTok got a bunch of Americans to call their congressmen to complain about the bill, and a lot of them were saying like, "What's a congressman?"
Well, they TikTok pushed this. We'll put it on screen. This
it was a push notification.
Like push notification, and you could just enter your zip code, and it'll show you your local congressperson.
And then you could just
click to call.
Yeah.
So it's so easy, and you just do it without even thinking about it. And then suddenly you're on the phone with a congressional staffer, and you're like, wait, what am I calling about?
But no, like the actual like quote from a staffer was that we had lots of people calling and asking what a congressman was.
Yes.
So not great civics education, but I think also the issue is because there is a general mistrust of the government and sort of like legal, like contracts, laws, it's kind of a black box to a lot of people.
Sure.
So they don't know how it works. So it's like a law is a Trojan horse where it's like no matter what the bill says, somewhere in there's like the one line that's what it's really about and makes the rest of it not matter.
Well,
and only if you're really smart can you figure out what's really going on. And so a lot of people in the bill point to the part where it says, I forget the exact language, but like the president determines, well, also like the president determines if it's a national security threat. Mm-hmm. And so some people think that means, oh, yeah, sure, here at the beginning it says it only applies to China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia. But because of that, it means the president can declare anything he wants a national security threat and ban it. Figured it out.
Well, I do have to say that it's not clear in the bill that it only applies to China, North Korea, Russia, and Iran, because the definition is a foreign adversary country is defined according to like this like U.S. code or like already
and then if
law.
you go to that,
so you have to go like you have to then Google the number of this U.S. law then to see like the definition of a foreign adversary. So I can see how people would maybe gloss over that part, but yeah, it is true that you cannot just like take a piece and out of context. I also saw a lot of people highlighting this part where it was just defining what like an app or a website or like that. Anything that's controlled by this foreign adversary, including websites, apps, blah, blah, blah. And then they were just highlighting the part that said website, like, oh, any website is now, in danger.
It's going to be used to shut down X and go after Elon Musk.
Well, can I just, I just want to make a couple points. One is that people who fear that there could just be one terrible line in there, I think there's some legitimacy to that fear, because there are many cases in which that can happen. I mean, we saw really significant overreach with the Patriot Act, right? And what ultimately happened was just this mass surveillance and tracking system set up by the NSA and so on, sort of flowing from that. So there are little legitimate concerns. Just I don't think that applies to this specific bill. And number two was really important, and I totally forgot what it was going to be. So I'm going to stop there.
Okay.